So for our squad the past couple weeks, we've really been leaning into the idea of God's presence and how to spend time with Him and be aware of His presence so that we can hear from Him and ultimately become more like Jesus. So I know that this is something that a lot of students, including myself, have struggled with before, because the idea of hearing from God, that's like kind of crazy. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it looks like in your own life to hear from God. So do you have like a time or a certain situation where you really felt like God was speaking to you?
I definitely think the initial quarantine was definitely a time that God was speaking to me. It was kind of like a weird time for everyone.
Yeah.
It was really stressful, and all of our distractions, like school and sports, they were all that was the first time in a while, they were just kind of all gone. And I think I was really stressed out, and I didn't really know where to go next, because there's nothing you can do about a pandemic. The church started a devotional on Bible app, and it was called Christ is Greater Than Corona. And so I was I kind of didn't know what else to do, to find some sort of comfort. So I decided to just try it, and that was the first time in a while I'd chosen to do something to better my relationship with God, because I was kind of in a place where God was just I don't know, it wasn't really a priority for me. I'd go to church because it's what we did on Sundays.
Kind of on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah.
But then when quarantine happened, everything was taken away. So you had nothing else to try to fill that gap.
Yeah. So I decided to do the devotional, and it kind of just gave me a peace that I wasn't able to find anywhere else. And I was just wow, this is a real thing. It's not just, something that is people just talk about.
Yeah.
I kept doing devotionals after that one ended, and it was really good for me just to, I just felt so much better every time I did it.
So you hadn't been going to our squad very much before quarantine, right?
I hadn't gone for 2 years.
Yeah.
I just whenever I went, I felt I was kind of an outsider, and that was something I did to myself, because I just I wasn't really interested, honestly. I didn't want to learn. I felt I was so far from God that I was almost too far, that I don't know, I was just kind of off from everyone else. So I remember after I started doing the Bible plans, there was a time in August where I texted Miss Andrea, my small group leader, and I just said hey, when's our squad starting back up? Just kind of want to reconnect with everyone. And that happened to be the night of the R Squad Live.
Yeah.
I had no idea that that was even going on, and I feel God definitely speaks to us through other people, like a mentor or a leader, and it was kind of just a sign to me this isn't a coincidence. Everything lined up so perfectly, and the R Squad Live was about invisible and ignored. So I was wow, that's me.
And I feel too, it's not even just that he doesn't just speak words and specific ideas or things to us. He can speak to us through showing us. So you decided that you needed to be with him because everything else was taken away, and you knew that he was the only thing left for you. So when you pursued him and you kept leaning in and you made the effort to reach out and be part of a community, I think he was speaking to you that he had your back and that you were on the right path through that. But it's not always through a big breakthrough like that. I mean, we do have those, but he speaks to us so much every single day. And a lot of times we just miss it because we're looking for something so much bigger. So how do you know when God is speaking to you in your own life?
I think sometimes we're just not in the mindset to receive him. We expect to ask something and it just be answered right away. And we could ask for something and it be answered years down the line. And I think sometimes if we don't get the answer we want, we just are oh, God's ignoring me, or he doesn't care. But I definitely think that we just have to be in the right mindset to receive. And in our squad, we've been talking about like how solitude is such an important, how it's just such an important thing to not forget about.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy with all of our distractions to, not just take the time to step back
Yeah.
and just be quiet in His presence.
If you look in the Bible at how Jesus heard from God, he was always just alone with God, and his ministry would not have looked the way it did if he was just always out and going and going and going and doing. He heard so much from God when he was just patient and quiet and in solitude and in prayer with the Lord. So I think that's something we forget.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason I didn't want to, get involved and go to youth group, and because I didn't really know his character, and I was just kind of like, why are all these people following someone? And I didn't really ever take the time to learn about who he was and what he does for us. And I think it was just a big time when I realized he died for me, so I'm gonna live for him.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's so important that we know God so that we can hear from him, because if we don't even understand that he died for us in that way and that he sacrificed Jesus so that we could live with him, it's so hard to actually hear what God wants to say.
You don't want to just be blindly following, just understanding exactly what he did and how it affects you. And I mean, that's the best way for you to be able to affect others. I mean, you can't teach and preach something that you don't know yourself.
There may be some students watching this wondering, I mean, yeah, everything you said is true, but I still haven't heard from God. Why can't I hear him? What is one final thing you could say to encourage them in hearing from God?
Just take a step back and just put it in his hands and, just see what happens, because that's what I did and it worked out for me.